Hi guys, I'm TJ. Just asked me if he introduced me, but I'm sure you can't hear him because his microphone isn't working right now. Nope, I'm.
All right, hang on. Wait, it's the and then we're gonna do the. Okay, test. I think it's working now. Why? Every time, why? Why did the settings go
There we
away?
go.
Why? Is there a
All right.
thing where I could
You-
save this? I don't. What the heck? Anyway. All right. Anyway, I'm here again from TJ from TayJayPaints. We are here once again to. I'm gonna fix this camera. To give you our weekly updates, hobby news, going over stuff and things from our favorite hobby, and yeah. And Frank is here too.
Yay! I'm part of something.
Hooray! Everybody likes to be part of stuff. Once again, we are bringing you all the news and updates again from our favorite hobby, and a lot has happened in the past week. A lot has happened today.
Yeah,
Um, once
today,
again,
yeah.
once again, internet meltdowns, brand new models over the weekend. Lots of fun news and rumors and such, and we cannot wait to share them with you. Plus, a new segment tonight where we review submitted models. So,
That I am particularly excited for.
yes, we are
We've got
both.
some, yeah, we got some awesome submissions, and I'm really looking forward to going over them tonight.
Oh, absolutely. So, sit back, have a drink, and we are gonna get started here. First off, we are gonna start as we usually do, with what is new. Frank, what is new with you?
Well, not to sound like a bit like a broken record, just mostly just relaxing and playing a lot of Marvel again with my wife. I just gave a little bit of an update on my Instagram where I posted a bunch of Marvel minis that I just, banged out in the last week or so. Um, Nothing super fancy, but just some fun minis. It's something that I do just on the side to kind of have fun and relax with.
I got them up
Um,
now for you.
awesome. Um, but other than that, building stuff, building some terrain actually. Um, Painting the Marvel minis, hanging out with my wife, playing Marvel Crisis Protocol, trying to get games of 10th edition, and I've this week has been a little bit rough with the holiday, and I haven't been able to get any schedules to sync up or line up. So no more 10th games this last week, but I have got a weekend of 10th edition coming up very soon that I'm excited for, where I'm going to be going down and doing a boot camp to get ready for Nova because I'm one of the Nova judges. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so going through a little boot camp with the TO down there, and to get ready for that. Um, but that's pretty much me. I see you got my Instagram up there. You're looking at some pictures of um, some convocation slash defenders with a little other factions in there, a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy, and my wife's A Force minis. A Force is
oh,
basically just a all female Avengers.
oh. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we got Gamora. It looks like two versions of Doctor Strange. The ancient
Hmm.
one. The source. No. What the heck's her name? The one in the green. She's
Enchant
Asgardian. The Enchantress. Yes.
Enchantress. Yep.
Yes. Looks like Valkyrie, I think.
There's a Valkyrie. Yep.
Mordo. Oh man, what is her name? She came over from a different comic. I can't remember her name. The red hair.
Oh, with the big weapons.
Yeah.
Angela.
Angela, that's right. I always forget her name. Is that Quake? I think we have Quake down there.
No, that's Shuri from
Oh, it's
Wakanda.
Shuri. Okay, it's blurry. I
Yep.
couldn't tell. I just
Yeah,
saw
that.
the gauntlets.
Um.
Let's see here. Oh, we got Scarlet Witch as well. Oh, no, now I
Yes.
can see it. That is Shuri. She-Hulk.
Yep.
And I think we had... who is the one in the middle here in the yellow and black with the fire in her hand?
She is one of the Inhumans. That's Crystal.
Oh, okay. That's why I don't know her very well.
Yep, that's Crystal from the Inhumans. The one in the purple and black is Clea, also from the Convocation,
mm,
and also Defenders. You mentioned the two Doctor Stranges. There's the Doctor Strange with the yellow circles around him, and then the one in the black coming out of the portal in the ground. That is the Sorcerer Supreme version of Doctor
that's
Strange.
also a really cool looking model. He's physically coming through the
Yeah,
the portal.
that was a fun one to paint. I loved painting all of the energy effects in this one. That gave me a chance to just kind of go wild and do different colors. But for some reason, you can kind of see him in like the third picture to the
I
right
see.
of the. There's another miniature there that in the photo I took he was there, but this one when it got uploaded he got cut off, which
Oh,
was Wong. Wong.
oh, that's Wong. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when, for some reason, when you upload to Instagram, it only likes square pictures.
Mm.
So it's weird like that. But yeah, no, those are looking mighty fine, Frank. I do enjoy these very much, and I'm disappointed in myself for not getting Angela, but or the Enchantress. But you know, whatever.
I think they both come in the Asgardian affiliation pack.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget. I think one of them does. Anyway, but yeah, I love painting these guys because as I typed out in the description when I posted the videos, I call them sketchbook minis because I don't do anything super fancy. It's mostly just some a combination of different speed paint techniques, mostly slap chop, because I think slap chop is just a fantastic way to just casually get some good looking minis on the table. But if you can, if you know how to do some wet blending, or if you understand how to do wet blending, and you know a few more advanced techniques, you can elevate them quite a bit.
Right. Right.
Um, I am particularly proud of or happy with the ancient one and how she came out. There's a much clearer photo of her in the first and second pictures. Where when I was painting her in
There you
Doctor
go.
Strange, I was able to I used a combination of GW contrast paints, Army Painter speed paints,
Ooh.
and some Vallejo Game Color yellow ink. And I just wet blended those together, kind of just a simple version of the two brush method where after I did the slap chop with the dry brushing, the shades of gray, or basically it's pre-shading with a dry brush,
Right. Right.
I was blending the oranges up through a mid-tone yellow and just finishing off with a little bit of yellow ink. And then I did one of my favorite tricks, which is to re-dry brush the area with white, very light dry brush, pick out some higher points, and then a quick glaze over with a little bit of game color yellow ink to just, help unify and blend everything together. And they, honestly, for what amounts to be slap chop minis, came out looking pretty darn good.
Nice. 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 I really like them.
So, and I think each one, uh, depending upon the complexity, now the Doctor Strange with the big yellow convocation symbol and circles, or the runic circles around him, he may have taken about an hour and a half ish or so. But yeah, they're all done about an hour, hour and a half. Nothing, no huge amounts of time. I get 2 or 3 done a night.
Mm-hmm.
If they come out awesome, great. If they come out not so awesome, miniatures painted.
Hey,
I learn from it and I move on.
there you go. It's a good way to look at it. All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the stuff that I have been working on. All right.
Please.
All right. First off, we got a Palatine. That first picture wasn't great, but I am still chugging away at these sisters. I still have, again, like another 20 on my desk of Battle Sisters. I got 2 Sisters Superior that are almost done. and I'm still staring at the mortifiers and the penitent engines, and avoiding doing them at all costs. Anyway, but this is the like I said, the Palatine. It is still a really cool model. It is, their lieutenant. Next up, we have Dante. Now, I believe I showed him off a little bit last week, but I was able to get a little bit more work for him done for the owner of Fabricators Forge out in Pittsburgh. I have completed the symbols, the white symbols on his chest, on his ankles, and his belt, and on his one shoulder pad. He's going, and on the jump pack. Like, he's going a little bit every day or so. I get a little bit more done on him, because honestly, he's just fun to paint. So, I still gotta go through and define the armor pieces a little bit more, but yeah, Dante is coming along fairly well. Hopefully, I can get him to his owner by the end of the month. Because
How far? Ooh. I'm sorry. You go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, because I also have his Star Wars Shatterpoint to finish up too.
I have to crack the plastic on mine.
I still have the Obi-Wan and Dooku boxes. They are sitting and ready to be painted. I just am working on a lot of different projects at the moment.
Well, that's good for you. With the Dante model, how far along would you say you are with that piece? Is it about halfway done, or just in terms of the overall armor?
I'd say he's, the armor itself, for the most part, is done. The gold and stuff is done. It's honestly mostly the little bits here and there. I want to define the face more. I have to do all the gems. And like his right shoulder pad needs to be done, and the laurels. So then it's just cleanup, more or less. So, yeah, I'd say half. I'd say half is probably a good place to put it at, as I stare at him. Yeah, he's getting there. He's almost there. Almost there. I need to get like a good day where I hyper focus on him and just plow through.
Now, I noticed that there's really no paint, or at least nothing more than possibly a gray primer on the axe. What do you got? Do you have anything special planned for the axe?
It is going to be blue for the power axe. I am not quite certain how I want to pull that off yet. I might just do my normal, like the color down to black with the hard white highlights to give it that like sheen look that I enjoy so much on a lot of my stuff. Let me see if I can find a good one of that style I like to do. Oh, maybe something like I did on the Azrael. Maybe a little brighter than that, or how I usually like to do it on the Necrons I've been working on. Let me see. Yeah, or something like this. Obviously done a little nicer. This wasn't like top level paint scheme here on the Imperial Fist on his axe, but probably something along those lines. Just cleaner.
Very, very cool. So basically just a pretty simple but bright blue, like a non-metallic metal effect to try and sell the power field.
Yeah, something like that. I think blue will work out the best there too, because it pops off of all the red and the yellow.
I think so, because gold actually tends to be a bit, while it's a yellow and people tend to use warmer colors because of its little bit of a desaturated nature, tends to come off as fairly cool. Like, it's a very cold looking model, so like a very bright electric blue I think would set that model off quite nicely.
Oh yes, that's what I was thinking. And then next thing that was the wrong direction. The Dargan. I have been working on a high elf dragon for a customer of mine. It is it's getting there. I still have to do all the armor, but he wants everything done. I still have to do the riders and stuff too. As to make him look like he is Azernil the Dragon Lord, which was an old Regiments of Renown unit. So I am pulling that up now, and this is the old one.
I am not familiar at all with old Warhammer models. Oh, I have seen that model before.
Yes.
Yep.
He is a Dogs of War model, so he was a kind of mercenary model. So I am trying to do this dragon up to look as close to this as I can. I'm not gonna do the spikes on the back in the bone that they have here because it's not gonna look right, I don't think. But the rest, yeah. I even added the little like fleshy ear things here because that's not normally on the model with the horns. Like it's either the horns or that. So I kind of converted it up to have the little fleshy ear things too. You can see I'm
That's
right
pretty cool.
up top there. Yeah, and he's mostly green. I'm also not gonna do the dark green on the wings because I don't like how that looks. But otherwise, yes. And then the rider is going to look like this. I actually magnetized him, and then we have another option for the riders. That's just going to be a mage that he wanted. So, but yes, this
actually, I do know what war dogs are because thank you to Snipe and Wib for their Codex compliant videos. I actually watched that one.
Dogs of War.
Dogs of War. Yes, thank you. War dogs are something else.
But yes, this was a classic model. The worst part is I remember distinctly seeing it in the GW near me, in box, shrink wrapped, and I realized I was like 14, but now I'm like, I should have bought that model. This thing goes for like $200 easy on eBay. It's so rare to find this, especially if it's still wrapped. And I love these old dragon models. They have a lot of character to them, even though they all had the same. They were all essentially the same dragon. But yes, that dragon is coming along. And then lastly, I am working on a Grey Knight commission at the moment. Now, for some reason, everything looks really grainy in this picture, but in these pictures. But I assure you, it is a lot smoother IRL. My favorite part is these lava bases. I went through and I did about 30 lava bases yesterday for this commission, and they look pretty darn good. I think I've never actually done them before personally, but they didn't take very long either, so really enjoying doing those. The Grey Knights themselves, funny enough, it's like 20 purgators, and they just got slapped today. So, yeah.
So for anyone who might be interested in how you did them, since you said they were pretty easy to do and they didn't take a whole lot of time, how did you actually do your lava bases?
So the lava bases, what I do is I lay down a couple of different. I spray all the bases. I don't do anything to the bases. They are just a plain base. I spray them all gray. All right. You could do it in white too. It'll be a little bit more vibrant if you do white. I just had gray, and I spray them all in gray, and then I put down, what was the first color? A dark red. The one I had on hand was Wazdaka red. I'm not sure if they still have that one, but it's darker than Mephiston red because I did the Wazdaka, then I did Mephiston. All right, and then I did, and you just make little designs and stuff. You know what I mean? I made it look like there's little flowing rivers of lava, and such. And each time you do it, when you do a brighter color, it should be where the last brighter color was because it's going up in heat. You know what I mean? So if it's going up in heat, that's the brighter colors, and it just keeps going. So I did, like I said, I did Wazdaka, I did Mephiston, and then I did Wild Rider red. And then I jumped to Troll Slayer orange and Aerial yellow. And this might sound like a lot of layers, but it was really fast and easy. The worst part was waiting for them to dry. And then I did a little bit of, which one was it? Where did it go? Here it is. And then I did a little Ulthuan gray for the white at the very tips. So, like, you can barely see white on any of them. I have a whole bunch sitting next to me. But yeah, they are And then I take crackle paint. So pretty much all I did was, because I didn't have the black one, I took a Grelin Earth, mixed it up with some a bunch of carbon black acrylic ink by Liquitex, in case anybody is wondering. I use this in airbrushing a lot. I love inks for airbrushing, and probably some craft paint to give it just a little bit more body again, because that really watered it down. And yeah, and then I just slapped it on. Literally sitting here with my stepson, just watching me do this. I just slapped it on. You could see it crack. I crackle paints are so good for this. And the only other thing I have to try out next time is, because I do have crackle paste, this stuff, and I will have to try and do that with this next time. But I didn't want to do this because it's white, and I figured the black is gonna come out too gray. It came out a little like lighter than I wanted it here, but if I used the crackle paste, it would have been taken a lot more to darken it, and I don't think it would have came out as nice with the cracks.
Have you actually used the artist quality crackle paint before, or would this be your first time?
I have. Actually, let me pull up a picture. I have it on some of these. When I did the Knights, not that one. If we can go to, so it didn't crack as much as I wanted it to. Is the problem? It more looks like mud.
I was going to say, somebody was talking to me about using that paste, and they said that they weren't too happy with the effects.
Yeah, it comes out more looking like mud than anything, which admittedly is still a good effect, and I still really like it when you do a cork base. But yeah, it doesn't come out all crackly like you might be looking for. The first one I did actually has a...
Have you tried experimenting with different thicknesses, or possibly even diluting the mixture at all, or diluting the medium a bit?
I have not, though I have not had a chance to really try it on something that wasn't like a commission piece to really narrow it down. But for now, I think the crackle stuff that I use is still the GW technical stuff. So
I've heard different things about the crackle medium in terms of what might actually help to get larger cracks or smaller cracks depending upon what you're looking for. I've definitely heard, now again, more in terms of the GW stuff, but I've heard that speed of drying also impacts the size of the cracks that you get.
yes,
Where I think if you use a hairdryer, you do get bigger cracks because of the more rapid drying effect.
mm-hmm. So up in my room, it gets fairly hot when I don't have the air conditioning on. Also, when I have the air conditioning on, it's very dry. So like they do dry very quickly, fortunately. So which is kind of nice. And they came out, like I said, I think they came out really well for these. Let me see if I can grab them more. Next, I mean, I also, part of this commission is Castellan Crow, so he's going to be, I don't know if we can get this to show up. So he has his own base, but I'm going to try and put lava around it. Let me see if these will show up any at all. Light? Does light help? No, probably not. This doesn't focus very well on these. You can kind of see it.
It sounds like possibly one night you might just have to set yourself up with a couple of blank bases and just experiment with different means of trying to form the cracks using the paste.
Yeah. I'll have to do that. But the ones that I did do, I really like how they all came out. And it is a great way to quick and dirty. Number one, it looks great, but it's also a good quick and dirty way of making cool bases.
Awesome. You brought up inks before. I actually came across a new method I really enjoy for painting my whites. So if anyone is struggling at all with painting white and they really want to get a really good coat of white down that doesn't have the same issues as like the chalkiness that Citadel paints tend to have, like the Skull White and all that, infamously known for having infamously bad white paint.
Oh yeah.
I've talked before about how I'm a big fan of the Pro Acryl Bold Titanium White. Um, I've recently been reading some reviews, and not of the paint itself, but from local discords, and about how much people actually really, somebody was saying that they hated the paint because of the dropper bottle. The
What?
lid is a
What?
little,
What?
well, the Pro Acryl has a dropper bottle that's similar to, like, oh, think like a mustard bottle, where you have
Okay.
to. So if you if you don't if you don't remember to close it, it can get clogged on you. Um, and I also have to keep a towel, like my painting towel, next to me. Like every time I dispense some paint out, I have to close it real quick and then quickly clean the nozzle or the tip off. But
Mm.
I'm still a huge fan of the Pro Acryl Bold Titanium White from Monument Hobbies. Um, I'll throw a link up if anyone's interested in checking it out. I've been recommending to everybody. But I have also been using a lot more inks recently,
Mm.
and I own a bottle of AK Interactive Titanium White ink. So hypothetically, it's the same pigment that they're using in this. And inks obviously are very pigment dense, but they're also very thin. And I've been mixing the two. I usually go 1 to 1. A couple drops, 2 to 4 drops of my Bold Titanium White Pro Acryl, and then 2 to 4 drops of the Titanium White. Mix them together. The paint gets thinned out, but you maintain a very high pigment density in the paints, and they just do a really awesome job of giving you a solid white base coat. Very
Nice.
smooth, no chalkiness. As a matter of fact, that is when I had to rebase areas white with the excuse me, with the Marvel minis I was painting earlier, for to put a wash or an ink over that, or colored ink over that. I was able to just get one quick coat right over black, perfectly smooth,
Wow.
very
Okay.
little touching up. Like it was I so my formula now going forward for painting white is a combination of the Pro Acryl Bold Titanium White diluted with the AK Interactive Titanium White ink. I would assume that any white ink would probably get you the same effect.
No, the Liquitex one isn't great.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But yeah, those two paints in particular, I'll throw a link up in the chat if anyone's looking to
Throw
potentially
one
find
to
those
me
paints.
too, because I'm not gonna see it. I won't.
Oh,
I won't
okay.
remember otherwise. Honestly, just send it to me.
I will send you the link. Yeah, and
Thank
it's
you.
been fantastic.
Because
Um,
whites, as I've said before, are like the worst thing. So, they're the hardest thing to find that will be done right. It's always like I have gone through so many different types of white paint, and I just want one good one. Nobody ever makes good white paint.
what I like about this too is that because it's a white, if you're looking for something to have a base white to work off of, if you're into mixing your own colors, um, the it gives you a really great white to work off of to mix your own like bone colors, and
Ooh,
or have a white for desaturating out, say like a flesh tone or something like that. So it's a very good. I'm very this particular formula for white has been treating me very well.
nice. Good, good, good. I'll have to give it a try. Like I said, I've been on the quest for the best white paint for forever. Finally finding one might be nice. I've gotten the thick stuff, the thin stuff, the GW stuff. Again, I have been using Vallejo Game Color recently, and that's been very nice. But um, yes, I need to give this a try, as I have heard nothing but good things from literally everyone. So, um, yes.
Okay. And then what's great too is these paints are inexpensive. You can get both of these paints for, well, depending upon where you get them from. Um, you can get both these paints for, I think the white ink is like $3, and the
Ooh.
Pro Acryl is a fair amount of paint for like It's 4 and change. Call it $5. So $8, $9, not including any shipping costs if you, depending upon where you get them from. Um, a really inexpensive option for some great whites.
Works for me. Yes. All right. Well, seems as though we have become fully up to date on everything you and I have been working on. So let's move on. Now, did we want to move on? Were we saying we were going to move on to the painting submissions, or were we going to get through the news and stuff first? I think we said news and stuff first.
Well, we can, if you want, we can break it up a little bit, or we can work on. We could do a couple of different things here.
All right. Let's go through the easy stuff first. Let's hit the rumor engine. That one goes really quick. All right. Got that up here. And once again, it's an orc kit.
Oh. Well, that legitimately might be some sort of orc kit. I don't know.
Honestly, I am not completely sure. I forget what's coming up. I need to look up the
That might be actually. I'm gonna say the Gargant or a Knight.
Oh yeah, it could be a Gargant. I could see it being a Gargant.
Oh, Ryan made it in the chat. Hi,
Yay!
Ryan.
Well, once we get through these first couple of things, we will start with him. We have, I don't know. It is definitely a big forearm and bicep. It looks like it's got something jutting out of it. Man, that could be anything from Gene Stealer Cult to Trogoths to Giants to it could be 40K, it could be Age of Sigmar, heck, it could be Old World, but I don't know. I doubt it's Old World. But yeah, no, that is cool, and easily turned into an orc kit. And then looks like we have all the preview stuff from last week. So what I think we're gonna do is we're gonna break it up now. We're gonna go to our submissions here. So let me make sure I got the right ones up. Hang on.
We were going to be starting with Brad and his Leviathan Captain.
Okay, let me pull him up.
Just want to make sure I'm also starting on the same picture as you are, so we're not talking about two different things. If at any point in time during the stream it seems like we're a little out of sync, there's about a 5 to 6 second delay between what TJ puts up on the screen and what I can see, because we're not actually together.
We are in spirit. Let's see, let's do this one, and then we're going to do properties, and we're going to pull it up. I need to pull up a new window thing here, so let's do that. Boop, doop, boop, boop, photos. Let's do that, okay. You want to... Where are you at?
Ryan, while we're waiting for TJ to go ahead and get the first review up, since you made it here and we're reviewing one of your pieces, do you have like an Instagram, or do you have any other social media that you'd like to share so that we can follow you along and see your progress as you move along with your pieces? Because, spoiler alert, we're actually saving your piece for last.
Yes.
But for good reason.
Why is this giving me trouble here? Let me just delete this. And sorry, I just like to mumble. Just keep going.
Talk amongst ourselves, I guess.
Yes. Game display couch.
Well, that's a shame. I think that if you ever were to start an Instagram, definitely lead with the Lord Croak that we're going to be going over later.
Oh yeah. Listen, man, I know you don't like the socials, but Instagram is probably a good one, just to get your model stuff out there. Yes. Hang on as I fumble around with OBS for one more moment. Window capture. Why are you not doing what I want?
Can you drag and drop the photos into your Chrome browser? Because that should work.
I will attempt to do so. Anyway.
Oh, and there's Tryhard in the channel. Hey, Andrew.
Discard. Okay. There we go. There is the first one.
All right, just waiting to see.
So this
Update here. There we go.
lovely Terminator captain. I'm sorry, I forget the gentleman's name again. What? I am so bad at this.
I have the information right here in front of me. So
okay.
we posted out into Facebook, a bunch of Discord channels, some private groups, reaching out to individuals, asking them if they were interested in having their pieces critiqued or talked about. TJ and I would give feedback. Just to qualify us a little bit, TJ is a professional commission painter. He does it full time, so he spends a lot more time staring at little plastic dudesmen than probably most people should do who live a healthy, balanced life.
Yeah.
And I am a competition painter. We both play a lot of competitive 40K. We travel a lot to different events. But I do a lot of competition painting. At least I have started doing so over the last couple of years. I've entered into a couple of Golden Demons. I have not won any Golden Demons. I have made finalist. I have won some Best Painted awards at different GTs. I recently took third place at the ACO for my Thousand Suns Army. So, are we the best painters in the world?
Yes.
We're the best painters that's currently on this stream.
Maybe.
Definite maybe in terms of like who you can see. Well, you can only see my picture. Well, we aight.
We're okay. We are okay.
But we have a lot of experience painting, and we're excited to see some community submissions here, and hopefully we want to turn this into a regular segment. We already have some photos and miniatures also lined up for the next stream because we got a really good response on this. So thank you so much for submitting. And let's get into the pieces. So the first piece here we have is from a gentleman by the name of Brad Ingram, or Ingraham. I'm going to go with Ingram, though. This is a Terminator captain from the Leviathan box he's been working on. He's listed him as mostly finished. So we gave a little questionnaire, and the questions that were included in the questionnaire, which I totally remember because I wrote the thing, and I don't have to go back and cheat and look it up.
I'm pulling all the pictures up as we go, so don't.
Cool. So we asked 5 questions. Question 1, is this a finished project or a work in progress? Is there something in particular you would like us to review or offer feedback on? Do you have a particular goal for the mini? Is it a tabletop piece, display piece, competition piece, etc.? Are Dark Angels really a Traitor Legion in disguise? And is there something in particular you would like to improve on?
They're all very valid questions.
Yes. It was either going to be Dark Angels or, did Magnus do anything wrong? I decided to pick on Dark Angels.
Magnus did everything wrong. Anyway.
I have no defense. Okay, so Brad's here saying is mostly finished. He has to finish up freehand text on the shoulder and shin armor panels, which he's nervous to attempt. This is his first attempt at wet blending, which he used on the cloak and armor panels. So any feedback on that would be appreciated. He has no particular goal for this mini, and he plans to use them as a tabletop piece for the rest of his Ultramarine. So this is going to be a tabletop piece, and he hopes to hear our thoughts.
All right. First of all, Ultramarines, really, and then I could already tell this will stand up to the standard 3-foot test from across the board. Does it look good from 3 feet away? Yes, and if it is a game piece, that's better than most people can do. This looks great from 3 feet away.
I would say, in terms of just a quick gut review without going into any detail, if you were going to an RTT, and this RTT or even a smaller GT had an opportunity to enter in a miniature for like a best painted contest, I would say that you'd have no fear in terms of trying to submit this miniature. I think it would do fairly well. There are definitely some opportunities for improvement, which we'll go over. But in terms of your general ability and talent at painting, you've got it. You definitely have a really solid um, basis for going further with your painting.
Oh yeah, you can even see it in the skin tone on his face. The
Hmm.
lips, they're only like subtly like a little bit redder, which is good. You can see it under the cheekbones. That's great. All of your, I think you do line highlights better than I do. Um,
An
the,
excellent
the
example of a heavy metal style painting.
yes, he looks great. Like I'd be genuinely impressed if I saw this at an RTT. Let me look at the back. Now the cloak. You said this was your first shot at wet blending, and as a first try, it is not bad. Um,
I would agree. I think it, as for a first attempt, it's not bad. Um, I would be interested to know if, hopefully, I don't know if Brad, if you are in the chat, if you can post letting us know that you're here, because I do have a couple of questions I'd like to ask, if possible. If you're not in the chat and you catch this later, well, um, I'm gonna make a couple of assumptions here, and hopefully they're not bad, but definitely for a first attempt at wet blending, it is not bad.
yes.
So you go first, TJ. Why don't you talk about what you see in terms of
Well,
you?
I think what we should do is let's take a look at all the things he was pointing out. So he said he still needs the free hand on the shoulder too.
Yes, I'm assuming that he means the. Oh, I see. He means
Yeah.
the that scripting or that scroll area. Okay. If you're nervous about doing freehand text, um, there is first thing I would say is there is nothing wrong with getting micro pens.
Oh, that's what I use. Quick and dirty.
If you don't want to buy super expensive micro pens, um, you can also get the ultra fine point or fine tipped um, Sharpie markers, like the 0.1 millimeter tipped felt pens. You can do a lot of good work with those if you don't feel comfortable or confident in doing it with a brush. Um, Also, a pencil is your friend. You could always sketch out or draw out what you want to do with your scripting and freehanding with a pencil first. Some people like to do mechanical pencils. I actually prefer to use just a normal regular pencil because I sometimes find that mechanical pencils, if the lead is a bit too sharp, can scratch your paint.
Mm.
But I like to use a nice, just a basic number 2, slightly soft tipped pencil, and then you can always draw out what you want. And if you don't like it, you can erase it gently. If you do it gently, you can erase the pencil right off the model.
You can also go for artist pencils, which are actually softer tipped pencils. So they will any art store will have them. Again, they are a little bit more expensive because they are artist pencils, but they will also help with that.
I,
And oh, go
I
ahead.
think with artist pencils, it's the higher the number, the softer the lead is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um, and then, for instance, my for my micro pens, mine is a 005, and even that I feel is too thick most of the time. So you gotta find the really fine one. This one's 0.20 millimeters.
Hmm.
Um, but
I didn't know
yes,
that they made them down. I didn't know. I didn't realize you can get down to a 0.05. That's cool to know.
well no, this is 0.20. It's just it's the numbering like on the brushes how it's 0 0 0 0 0 0. This one's 0 0 5 for the micron pen. Um,
Gotcha.
I'm not even sure if they make them smaller. They probably do, but whatever. Either way, it's a good way to fill it. You just do little scribbles. That's all I do. Um, but yes, as far as this man is concerned, I do like how the armor itself came out. You did a really good job filling in the recesses. It is a great heavy metal style paint job, as Frank said. As far as the cloak is concerned, I think the best thing to do here now, it is looking good as far as a first attempt. I think what you need is words are hard. God, I can't think of the word. Going over it with watery paint. What is that?
Glazing?
That's the word. Oh God, I hate my head sometimes. Yes, I think a glazing this with the mid-tone, the whole cloak. Do the whole cloak. Just glaze it. Very, very watered down. Will do a lot. It'll help blend in everything. Just for if you wanted something real easy to improve it.
Glazing is a good way to go. So, seeing as how we haven't any response from Brad or anyone else in the chat claiming to be Brad, I am going to pose 2 questions out right now. I would love to know how he wet blended this, because there are 3 different ways you can wet blend something. You can do the out of the pot method, which is very simple and is exactly as it sounds. You do not thin down your paint. You just put it on the model. Because typically, when it comes to wet blending, you actually want your paint to be as thick as possible, but without leaving brush strokes. And that's usually going to be an out of the pot consistency. And if you work quickly with a damp brush, you can very easily smooth it out. So was this a wet blend method that I think is actually typically prescribed by heavy metal? If you followed along with any of their Citadel Masterclass videos, they talk a lot about this style of wet blending, where you put the paint down thick, and then with a damp brush you either feather it out or you then switch the other color. They also talk about using like an intermediary, almost a glaze-like method. They have a couple different ways of doing it, but was this done with just a 2-pot method? Was it done with a 2-brush method, which is exactly as it sounds? You have 2 brushes loaded up with the 2 different colors you're trying to wet blend, and you rapidly switch between the 2. Or, and this is how I learned to wet blend initially, is using something called acrylic retarder.
Whoa.
Hey now. Acrylic retarder is a great way to learn how to wet blend. And what it does is that it's acrylic medium that when you mix it in with your paint, it will thin it out, but it also thickens it up at the same time. It fluffs up the paint, but it significantly reduces drying time. So you can put the paint down on the model, and like 10 minutes later you can go back and it's still going to be workable paint on the miniature itself. But mileage may vary depending upon heat, humidity, what your ventilation is like in your room. Like if it's a particularly hot and dry day, you may only get a couple minutes worth of working time. But acrylic retarder is a great way of learning how to wet blend. Tons of tutorial videos out there on how to use acrylic retarder. So not knowing how he attempted his wet blending, where I would be is, I think it looks to me like he may have started with a black and was trying to wet blend up into a red.
What I think happened here is I think he laid his mid-tone down. And then either hit it with a wash or mixed black into the red and recess shaded.
Gotcha.
And then tried to build it up from there, and then went to his top on the edges.
It's possible. I'm having a tough time telling you if that is black or if it's a super dark brown, because that one crease in the one crease that runs right down the center of the cloak, at least that's most forward facing to us in the picture, looks like it could be black, but that could also be the glossy finish on it. Another tip is try to matte varnish your minis too, because that will also skew the colors and how we see them.
Oh, absolutely. For some reason, matte varnish will just help the blend. It
does.
I'm sure there's some sort of sciencey talk that will describe this properly. I just don't know it, but every time I do a mini eye matte varnish, and it basically does what Agrex or Shade does. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just makes the model better. Um,
So going back to the cloak here real quick, in terms of what I want to pick out as the absolute positives, you have a good understanding of volumetric highlighting. Um, your highlights are in the right place in terms of the blacks or dark browns versus the red.
yes.
Um, the blends themselves are a little rough for being a wet blend, but definitely workable. Like you're on the right path as far as that's concerned. Not knowing how you attempt to do the wet blend, I can only take some guesses. But I'm going to assume that you are trying the out of the pot method, which will cause the paint to dry a little bit faster. But if you were to um, try using a two brush blend method, or again, if you were looking to try and improve and you want to get better at it while still having more working time on the miniature, I would recommend getting a bottle of like Golden brand, or there's the other one that's a popular art supply brand. I can't think of it. Like, is it Meadow or Golden Meadow? I'm thinking of. TJ, help me out here.
I,
I,
mm,
okay. Um, yeah, but an acrylic retarder will go a long way in terms of helping you to learn your wet blending. Um, I would introduce some more colors as well. I'm not sure if this was just a 2-color wet blend, maybe a 3-color wet blend, where again you were starting with black or a super dark brown. Um, yeah, Vallejo does make an acrylic retarder as well too, so that is a good way of going with that. Um, but the only thing I'll say about Vallejo is you're buying specialty miniature game hobby supplies, which is really just the traditional artist supplies packaged smaller and charged twice as much. So I would just recommend going to like an AC Moore, Michaels, whatever hobby store of your preference, and just getting a bottle of acrylic retarder from there. You can find it in the fine arts area. Um, what would also help to elevate this too is just some more highlights. I would consider going with an orange to a yellow highlight on the cloak, or, and a lot of people are afraid of this for some reason, don't be afraid to do pink. Pink is just a desaturated high value red. It
yep.
works just fine as a highlight. Don't be afraid of using pink to highlight your reds with. It'll look just fine. And honestly, pink with red will give you a glinting feel. Like, it's just the same way when you're doing non-metallic metals and you put white on silver or gold, it makes it look glinty. The pink will have the same effect.
Oh yeah, a lot of that stuff is easily bought at like AC Moore. Not the paint itself, but like a lot of the little tools and stuff are easily bought at Michaels or something at a craft store, because they'll come in bigger bottles and stuff for cheaper.
But yeah, I wish I knew more about how you blended this, Brad. Obviously, like I said, TJ and I both agree it's a great start. Try using the acrylic retarder to give yourself a little more working time on the miniature. Matte varnish your minis down so that way you can get a better view of maybe what your after your blends are done. You can go back and see what you're working with, and just incorporate some more colors. Again, I'm not sure if that's a black to a red, but I would even suggest, if you started with black, start with a dark brown, like a not Doombull brown. What's the one that's really popular at Citadel?
Hang on, I have them all right here.
It's the really
Mornfang
dark brown.
or Rhinox hide.
Rhinox hide, yes.
Yes,
Rhinox hide is a great base color to work up from in terms of working with red. And then just a couple highlights will help brighten that up, and actually Rhinox hide.
Yep. I always do it the hard
try
way.
hard.
I always do it the hard way, so it's fine. I really like doing red cloaks, and I am annoyed that I can't find one on my Instagram. Or a good picture of one, I should say.
Now, a couple other things I just want to say about the miniature in general, because you said that you're also wet blending on the armor. I would suggest having a little more contrast in what you're wet blending in terms of your blue armor. I'm looking at the fourth picture right now, which is the front on view, where you can kind of give like an upward angle at the captain. Um,
Did I pull that one up? Hang on. Let me grab that one. There we go.
so for this one here,
There we go.
um, I would suggest like looking at the what would be the model's right shoulder or knee pad, excuse me, with the crux terminatus on it. Um, the if you were to bring that bottom left corner of the shin pad down to even a black and go up towards that cyan or sky blue like highlight, that would add a lot of excellent contrast and would elevate the model just in terms of depth and tone. Um, but overall, solid tabletop piece. And I gotta say, your transfer work is exemplary.
Oh, you can't even tell. You can't even tell. Like, you don't see the
Excellent transfer
edges.
work.
I can't see the edges on them. Like,
Nope. I
that's hard for me to do, and I do this professionally. Like,
I
also,
think his white. I think the white shoulder pad actually looks really good with that blue Ultramarines symbol on it.
oh,
Looks
absolutely.
excellent. Yeah, that looks fantastic. Um,
If I had one word for this whole piece, it's just clean. It is
yes.
clean. Your lines are straight. It is especially, like I said, from a distance. It's not a showpiece, so I'm not like gonna judge it as one. But like from a distance, from across the table, even looking at it close up, this is a very, very clean piece, and it is. I would be impressed.
hmm Yeah, definitely. If I was a painting judge at an RTT and this came across, I would have every reason to believe that miniature should belong there, and just keep practicing your wet blending.
Yeah.
It's very very good. Or you have a very good start. A cloak is a great way to practice your blending because a cloak is both forgiving and challenging at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and yes, Will, to answer your question, you can do touch-ups after a varnish layer.
I
Um,
do it all the time.
just be careful of what varnish layer you're talking about, though. Like if it's a gloss varnish that you have
Oh
on the model, don't do that.
no, no, no.
If you have a satin to a matte varnish on there, you can definitely paint right over that. I would just suggest you're just gonna have to revarnish afterwards to make sure that your finishes are all the same consistency.
Oh yes. And as far as a painting over the matte varnish, I do it all the time. I literally, for a lot of the stuff that I airbrush, because I'm going to end up handling it a bunch, especially when I'm doing big pieces like the knights, you varnish once you're done airbrushing, just to seal it in, because otherwise you're going to touch that, and it's such a thin layer of paint when you
hmm
airbrush, it's going to rub right off, especially if you're not wearing gloves. But even when you are wearing gloves, if you're not wearing gloves, sweat and any of the oils in your hand, at the very least, will leave fingerprints. So just, just A, wear gloves, B, varnish in between layers.
Yep, and then you can actually have the same thing happen to you if you're somebody who's into using contrast paints or any of the ink-like speed paints. That same thing will happen. So you should always, well, varnishing your models in general is always a great idea. But yeah, if you're using a thinner medium paint like a airbrush paint, or if you're using contrast or speed paints, varnishing almost becomes mandatory.
Post your favorite varnish in the chat. I'm not going to steal them, I swear.
I just actually just use I've tried different varnishes. When it comes to a matte varnish, I'm either down to using AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish. It's meant for airbrushes, but I also do a brush on. There we are, AK Ultra Matte. You and me, Ryan. I use that. I don't have an airbrush setup, unfortunately, so I just brush it on. A couple layers of brushed on is great. Spray can. I gotta really give it to Army Painter. I really like Army Painter for their rattle can varnish.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I usually use, I can't find it right now. Testers But the only problem with testers, I mean, it's the best varnish I've used. It's spray can, but like I can't find it in anything bigger than those like 3 ounce cans.
No. I've got a can of Tester's varnish that, if you remind me next time we're getting together, you can absolutely have. I do not like the Tester's matte varnish.
Really? Okay.
Really, it's too satin for me.
I'm gonna have to
what
try. I want to try the AK matte varnish anyway, because being able to do it in number one, just being able to get a bigger bottle, and then doing it in the airbrush is a lot. It's also looks like it's cheaper, so you know that.
Yeah, I actually just use it for thinning paints too, like on my wet palette, or I use it on my wet palette, or even just in a well palette. It's my preferred thinning medium as well. Yes, it is very matte. You can, if you're diluting Citadel paints with it though, the Citadel paints having a natural satin varnish, it just kind of knocks down the satin finish a bit. You won't get an ultra matte if you're doing it with the Citadel, but yeah, other paint brands that don't have a natural satin finish to them will matte out pretty quickly. And I prefer using the ultra matte because I do a lot of non-metallic metal work, and you really want that to be ultra matte. Like if you start seeing reflections in your own paint, that can really screw up your light your visibility of the model, and you might not get your speculars in the right position. So
Yep.
ultra matte is excellent and almost, again, mandatory for if you want to do good non-metallic metal.
Also, one last thing on this piece before we move on. You are very good at taking model photos. I would like to know how you did that.
Oh, my last parting comment. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I was just gonna go over that more. I always have a hard time taking good model photos, and this is very well taken.
Yeah, great job. You didn't. The lighting's good on it, and nice choice of a background. I don't know if that's just a sheet of paper or if he's using a photo box, but it looks very good. I would also incorporate try to get a little more depth in your metallics. The metallic, the silvers look good, well done. Just look a little flat. Maybe incorporate some blue inks, or just incorporate like a little more shadow in them. And your face, the volumetrics on the face look really good in terms of how you have it spaced out. I would just go a little higher on the highlights. AK Interactive Ice Yellow is your best friend when it comes to highlighting. Anything from like a light brown skin to a Caucasian skin, very, very good.
And Ryan makes one last very good point. Always ream your bases in black.
What if that fits his custom board?
I don't care.
I don't know. I'm not too. I think people should be allowed to rim their bases whatever color they want.
No.
Bring back Goblin Green.
Ew. Well, if you're going for that retro style, that's fine. But black bases, I think, they frame the model. I've said this before. It frames the model. It makes it look like it's a scene. I don't know. I think black is the way to go. But
do you actually know the reason why GW has all their bases rimmed in brown and not black?
for picture purposes, I believe.
It's actually for post color. It's for photoshopping at the end. Because brown, that shade of brown in Photoshop, can easily be turned into any color that they want in post production.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And no to the hot pink unless you're going for extreme Zinch or Tyranid vibes.
Even then.
Or if that's your thing, hey,
Black.
Slanesh works too.
Black.
I don't know.
All right.
All right.
So, do we want to
Let's
move on
move on.
to the next model?
I think we should because we're
Okay.
having a good time with this.
Let me get rid of these real quick, and let me pull up Mr. Kloss. Let me see here.
Yes. So, Andrew, try hard in the chat. You had submitted to us a number of different, actually 2 different models. We decided that we're going to save one of your Terminators for next week's stream, and we're going to focus today on your, I think it's the Sergeant from the Leviathan Terminator box. So now, and since I know you're live in the chat, Prepare to get roasted.
Yeah. Um, so let's start with the fuller front-on view to start, just to make this a little easier
Okay, let me
here.
make sure that I'm on the same picture as you. Okay.
Hi, Poppy. Um, let us take a look here. So, first impressions. Looks good, man. Looks good.
Yeah, generally speaking, I think your colors are in the right place. Obviously, I think you have. Let's see here. Just out of curiosity, this model looks like it still might be a work in progress. Is that correct, or is this one a finished piece?
Just to be sure. Oh, while we wait for that, I will say I do enjoy the red you used. It's 90%. Okay.
Okay, cool. So, looking at this as a work in progress piece now. Um, all in all, great tabletop piece. There is a lot of great things going on here. You're saying it's about 90% done. Um, let's see. Great attempt at non-metallic metal on the sword.
Yes.
You have your colors are all in the right place. I think you just need to work on that blending a bit. What I would do is probably a little less black and a little more blue. So tone down the black a bit, up the whites a tad, and probably pull that blue a little bit closer towards the black, just a tad bit more, just offering a little more color and interest and variety.
Yes.
And if you want to get super fancy with it, since you're on an orange colored base, on the lower part of the swords, not the fuller, but the lower part
The point.
underneath the fuller, you could actually even incorporate a little bit of oranges and reds to make it seem like it's reflecting the ground.
Yes.
That's if you want to get super fancy with it, not necessary.
And,
Um,
and I would say something else that would zhuzh it up, as you would. If you have used them before, the pigment powders, because it looks like you're on a very dusty terrain type spot here, I think just a little bit of orange around the boots, and then you matte varnish it would just push it. Is it there?
Yeah, if you look at the boots, you can see that the blue is desaturated,
Okay.
and that's because of the orange pigment powder spilling onto the
Oh,
boots.
okay. I'm just used to it being more forward, I guess. There we go. That's a better picture. Okay, no, I see it. Never mind.
That being said, while we are zoomed in on the boots, I do think the boots need a little more depth, though. There should be some darker lining, almost black, in those boots to help separate those panel lines out a bit.
Yes.
So I want to talk to you about the sword here. I were talking about a little bit about the blending and the colors. The little X's, are those intended to be scratches on the sword?
I think I think those are shine glints, kind of like how I put like the stark white lines on mine, like in the middle of the actual like power thing. I think they're meant to be, just shining power.
Okay.
Shining power.
He said yeah, but I'm not sure to who. Is it? So can you say in the chat, are they scratches or are they meant to be glints?
Because if they're glints, that's just a style choice at that point. Either way, whilst we are waiting for that, the scratches. Okay.
Okay. So for scratches, and I'm going to touch on this too with the weathering you did on the model and the scratches you had in the armor panels. For the scratches, I would suggest they should be thinner. And so I would really focus on trying to get as much of that paint off of your brush as possible, because the scratches are coming across a little too thick, and the constant X's read as a pattern, not as like random battleware. So I would be a little bit leery of using those X's like that, because they come across more as a pattern, and they don't necessarily read as scratches.
That's why I thought they were glints.
Yeah. So, um, just a little bit of feedback there. And talking about the battle damage on the Terminator, I like the fact that you went for the scratches. Um, but the white highlight you have on the scratches, they're in the wrong spot. They should be below the black line, not above the black line. Because the way what's supposed to look like is that it's the paint peeling off, and then the light would be hitting the paint that has kind of curled over or um, um, chipped away, a little fragmented. So I would put the white line underneath the black. You highlight under it and not on top of it. Uh,
Otherwise, I do really like your color choices here. I think the base, good idea. That orange with the blue makes the blue pop very nicely.
hmm
It's sort of like when I did the couple of Gloom Spike kits I actually did. They were all my squigs are yellow, and it's on a teal base to make them pop more. So like it makes the actual ultramarine blue pop, and I like that
hmm
a lot.
I completely agree. I think the choice of you when you and I were talking about this privately, you said you wanted to go do the desert scheme. I was a huge fan of that idea, and that's the exact reason why. It makes your blue ultramarine just sing as far as an overall piece.
And the crest, the white crest on the chest, I like that. Your white came out looking very good. You have the grays in the right spot. Um, yeah. If your
Yep,
whole army looks like this, you should not be upset. Like,
I completely agree. Um, Absolutely, it's a great piece overall. And you saying it's 90% done. A couple things that we touched on are things that you could definitely incorporate into trying to finish up the last 10%, should you choose to. Also, your gold non-metallic metal could definitely use a little bit of white as well in general. But yeah, um, great overall. Last thing I wanted to talk about on this piece.
also nice
Uh,
pictures. I will say the nice pictures. You can
yes,
really see your colors on this.
there you go, Andrew. You got compliments on taking pictures of miniatures.
Yes,
That's a feat for you in and of itself.
it's a compliment sandwich.
If it sounds like I'm being particularly mean to Andrew or try hard in the chat here, it's because he sends me a lot of photos to get feedback on, and I'm like, yeah, that's certainly a big blue blur you got going on there.
No, these photos
Uh,
are very clear. Like me zooming in is like this is really zooming them in for some reason, but like it is even pretty good zoomed in on most of these pictures. The definition on your helmet, I will say I really like that on the red.
mhm. Yeah, very good. Um, the only thing that I want to kind of pick on a little bit with this is you did the transfer work on the right shoulder pauldron. Um, that can definitely use a couple coats of matte varnish. A trick that you can do to help smooth things, to help with with transfer application too, is to cover the area in a gloss varnish first, put your transfer on, and then put several layers of matte varnish on top of that. Um, with looking at the photo here, now grand of course we're looking at a blown up picture, a blown up version of the miniature where we're looking at it 3 or 4 times its actual size. So on the tabletop, that wouldn't be necessarily as visible, but uh, you definitely want to get some matte varnish on that. And yes, I use Microsol and Microset myself. Uh, if you want to do serious transfer work, definitely have to have access to those miniature. Not have access to it, but um,
Use.
they're super helpful to use. Um, but even with those, I still matte varnish just to deal with those pesky edges, because while the micro set is a solvent that can somewhat dissolve the transfer, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Um, Either try using a little more micro set, like brush it on afterwards, a couple coats of that to let it dry, But I would definitely recommend an ultra matte varnish over that to help hide it away. Sometimes what I do is when I'm doing a brush on varnish, I know you have access to an airbrush, but if I'm doing a brush on varnish, I'll brush a coat on, let it sit for 10 minutes, brush another coat on, watch a video on YouTube, go back, brush another coat on. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 layers to help hide that.
Or if you're me, brush your coat on, work on another miniature, brush your coat on, work on something else, brush your coat.
You turn the page,
You wash your hands.
Turn
Another
the
thing
page, you
I
wash your hands.
I have noticed with this, with doing this, is you put that gloss varnish down, you put the transfer on how you would normally, put another layer of gloss varnish over it to help blend it in, and then matte varnish it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is another trick that I have found works fairly well. I don't do a lot of transfers. I will warn you right now, but because people don't normally send me transfers to do, and most of the time, I mean I play orcs. I don't really use the transfers. I don't see the point, but I would that is another thing that I have used before, and it does come out pretty good.
And you pretty much will end up with a near bulletproof paint finish at that point.
Yes. Also, yeah. Literally, you could stab that thing, and I think the knife tip will break. Like,
All right. So I think it's time for news, right? Right.
Right. Yeah.
Else to go over?
No, nothing at all. Oh, wait. No, we do. It's this. God damn, Ryan. Why do you make us feel bad about ourselves? Like, oh yeah, judge my mini. Yeah. All right. Mumble.
All right. Let me go ahead and pull up what. Let's see here. Where's Ryan's email? There's Ryan's email. I'm sorry. Excuse me for just a moment. I'll be right back.
I am just pulling up all of the photos here. He did a full 360 and a couple of zoom ins, but we're just going around in a circle at this point. Just going on this adventure together. And then we get a little bit of a zoom in. And then, the most important part of the model, we got the skink.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. My son locked the door and he accidentally locked my wife out, so I had to go open it up for her.
Oh, that was pre-planned.
Okay, so we have Ryan's model here. Ryan here has painted a Lord Croak. This is a finished model. This is the part that actually does disgust me a little bit. This is his first attempt at non-metallic metal. So any feedback on that would be appreciated. I think the Death Mask and Inner Ring of the Serpent Banner were the most successful. I struggled with the gold bands around the outer rings of the palanquin, in my opinion. I also spent a lot of time planning out the composition and application of color theory, so feedback opinions on that are welcome. I do have a lot to say about your color theory, buddy. When it comes to, the purpose is display or competition, if you can find one. And to the Dark Angels question, he says, boo, Space Marines. I agree.
That's fair.
And he's looking for help with blending. I know there's some rough blends on this piece. I have more of a painterly style, naturally due to an art background. But I am planning on entering a piece into Golden Demon 2024, so am I. I look forward to hopefully meeting you there in person. And so I'll need to make some buttery smooth blends to find success there. Not necessarily, and I'll go over that with you in a second.
Same on the Golden Demon. We'll see what happens with the baby.
Okay. So first thing is my initial impressions. You have a wonderful illustrative style. You describe it as an art, or as a, what was your exact phrase? Painterly style. Okay. Yes, you definitely have that, and you have a. I use the term illustrative, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Your illustrative styles are perfectly fine, and where you can find a lot of success, even in Golden Demon, with this illustrative style you have going on. Some things that you'd want to work on in terms of how you have it, but you don't necessarily need to have perfect blends for a technique like this. It depends on where you want to go with it. Um, but starting from the beginning. Well, TJ, do you have anything in particular you want to go about first before I launch into my TED talk?
Oh, first and foremost, I love the Pokeball.
I noticed that too. The
The
Pokeball.
Pokeball is perfect. I mean I could have we could have did with like maybe a little Bulbasaur like in the window here on the front, but otherwise it's perfect Pokeball. um, no man, this thing makes me upset at my own painting skills. No, this is great. I can't talk about how much I like this as a whole piece. In general, he has Ekans and shiny Ekans. Nice. Um, as a whole piece in general, I just from how your color choices, like even if this wasn't like supposed to be a display piece, just your color choices, the teals with the yellows from the gold and the pinks and the purples. It all just goes together. And then the very, very undersold base. The base is very drab and brown and green and just kind of blah. And that's fantastic. I love that the base is understated because it pulls you up to his face. It pulls you up to the rest of the model that you want to look at. And the fact that everything around him is like green and it leads straight to, it makes you look straight at the mask. Look straight at the death mask, and then you look up at the jade or the jaguar stuff at the top. Well, the snakes at the top, I guess. Yeah, no, this whole model looks fantastic. It's chef's kiss. So I mean, we're gonna delve deeper into the any kind of nitpicks or trying to make it look, you know what I mean, in a moment. But just overall, I am very impressed, and I'd be hard pressed to do something similar. And I absolutely love this model in general. I've been debating on even getting one for myself to do, even though I really don't play Age of Sigmar. But yeah.
Well, I want to say that in general, I very much second everything that TJ says. Looking at this, I'm going to come at this with a bit of a more critical eye, having gotten some feedback from a couple of professional painters and stuff that I've done, and seeing what goes into Golden Demon. I really want us to say in general, like what I'm going to go at you here with is going to be very nitpicky things in terms of what a Golden Demon judge may look at and what they're going to look for and what they're going to want to talk to you about. But let me get all the gushy stuff out of the way. I love your illustrative style, absolutely. You will have no problems with a piece like this. If your whole army looked like this, but you would have, if you were at an Age of Sigmar major GT, anything of that nature, and you had an opportunity to enter this piece in for best painted, I can't imagine it not walking away with some sort of a prize.
I will say that Age of Sigmar tends to be tough on the painting. Painting's a big thing, a bigger thing. Not that it's not big for 40K, but it's a bigger thing on their side.
I wouldn't be surprised for you to say that your whole army doesn't look like that, Ryan, because I know the amount of work that can go even into the more precise illustrative style, or even with the illustrative style you have going on. I know that this probably took you a long time to get done, and it's not very realistic to have a whole army done this way. But if you ever wanted something to aspire to and you were going to tournaments and you wanted to start taking home best painted army prizes, well, you certainly have the talent to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, oh, I'm sorry. The last thing I want to talk about. Yes, your color theory is just sound. You have everything. You have really great cools playing off of warms. Like the entire piece is very warm. Um, but you have your cool warms and your warm warms all balancing off of each other very well. Um, I'm curious to know if you're, kind of working off of a real color wheel when you were doing this, because I'm seeing a lot of interaction between what would be the real complementary colors as opposed to primary complementary colors, which is, just fantastic. Um, so last thing I want to talk about actually is your base. Um, the base itself, I really, really love because it looks realistic. You didn't just put down a couple of tufts. You have a lot of diverse vegetation. A jungle floor like this is going to have just chaos in terms of the. Oh, there you are. Yeah, so you have an art background. Yes, perfect. Um, because I know a lot of people, obviously you have, your purples and your magentas. People tend to look at, oh, purple, yellow, those are complementary colors. But when I look at your piece, I see the real complementary color scheme being the magentas and purple feathers on the top with an intermediary complementary color scheme, the golds and the browns. But your real contrast is between the lime green skin of Croak and the feathers, the headdress on the top. So fantastic work on your color theory there, just in general. So yes, and your basing is fantastic. It's really good. It reads as being chaotic, which is how it should be, and very natural. Yes, magenta and green. I love that too.
Oh
I
yeah.
love work. Um, my two favorite colors to paint with in general are turquoise and magenta. You can just do so much with those two colors, especially if you have access to the pure pigment paints. Um, the the base is fantastic. It looks chaotic, but I can tell you put a lot of purpose in there in terms of where you're putting your tufts, how you're adding your ferns. Um, the the only thing I would say is near the rim of the base, um, it looks like you could use a little more texture. Like it kind of feels like you're scraping a little thin on your texture paste there. I would probably work on just having a little more build up, like right to the edge, so it doesn't kind of look like it's tapering off. Maybe a little bit of cork or even some more material kind of around the edge of the base, so that it just kind of feels like it could spill over the edge of the base at any point in time while keeping it nicely framed.
You could even make it like a little bit of like water texture there too, if you wanted to
Yeah,
make it. Yeah, just to not even have to put more paste down. You could just put a little bit of like water effect, and it could just read as it's a swamp.
there you go. Yeah, a little bit of water effect, some UV cure resin, um, a little more, even some twigs, broken off bits of branch, something like that to add a little more depth and variety to the undergrowth. Um, okay, so before we get into the non-metallics, some things I kind of want to
Let me know where you want to switch to,
talk
Frank.
about. Can you go back to the front of the pictures where you have the head-on view of Croak?
There we go.
Again, I apologize for the wait here. There's up to a 10-second lag between what I see on the screen. Okay, great. And assuming that you have the pictures in the same order I do, can you go 2 pictures in where you get a side view of the I'm going to call it an orrery, the side view of the orrery.
That one.
Yes, perfect. Okay. This is something that you would get picked on in terms of a Golden Demon level competition. The front view of the orrery and palanquin looks finished. The side of this does not look finished, at least not to the same level or detail that the front is. So for these large blank spaces, first thing I would say is some of the paint lines almost look like mistakes that didn't get cleaned up. I'm not sure if you're trying to create a little bit of a marbling effect there, but the sides of the piece look very unfinished. And that's probably due to the limitations of the dry brushing that you were trying to do here. I would also probably dry brush a little more moisture in your bristles so you can avoid a little bit of that graininess. But if you're going to enter a piece like this that has the stone on it, this blank space you'll need to do something with. Even if it is going through and hand painting lines in to create marbling, creating simple geometric patterns. This area here, these sides, they do look unfinished. Basically I would just either paint some marbling lines in there, or if you wanted to, again, freehand your own geometric patterns. That's kind of where I would be in terms of making that to look not quite so, well, as I said, unfinished or even bland. Blank space with nothing going on can sometimes kill the vibe of a model. And if you are serious about going in for a golden demon, the way that they attack and rate and rank golden demon entries is that they do bulk eliminations. They'll say, okay, first round up, or first round judging, they have a judge who's just like, I don't think one of the managers or one of the executives just come in and say, yeah, that model looks cool. I don't like that one. It's very simple, low level judging. And every time you go up a tier in the judging, they just keep limiting like that. And when it gets to the second to last level of judging, it then goes into mistakes. Then they're going to start looking at mistakes. They're going to say like, oh, this looks unfinished. Like my last piece I didn't make a finalist level with, and when I got feedback on it, like the painter I had given me feedback was zeroing in on like ankle joints that were on the inside of a Tau ghost keel that, like, I can zero in right on that and tell you right there that you did not finish that ankle joint. Like, and it was completely hidden. And that's the level of what you're dealing with. Again, that's Golden Demon in particular. But
Golden Demon is very, very nitpicky with things.
So, but yeah, that is my feedback there is these large blank spaces like that. You'll need to figure out something to handle that if you were to do a piece like this, or even to try and, if you wanted to fix this piece up for use in Golden Demon. That's my feedback there. More. Okay. The only criticism I have for your base is that the large fronds in the back kind of kill the vibe for me. They read to aquatic plant, and they don't jive with the rest of the basing that you've got going on. Well painted in terms of you got some paint, you got some color on there. But yeah, that large fern, at least it feels out of scale. It doesn't feel quite so correct. And again, it does feel very aquarium plant to me. Let's see. Apologize for the sounds as I'm just kind of going through.
You let me know where I gotta go.
Yep. I think you brought up a lot of your own criticisms. Okay. One other little detail. If you keep going through, there's a close-up picture of the right side profile of the skink. You'll see like a little stone or silver idol just below its right foot.
Oh, I had it. All right, I got it.
There you go. Perfect.
It's gonna
Okay.
switch again, but it'll come back.
Yeah. I'm looking at the stone idol in this photo, making sure that TJ's on the same picture as me. Give it a few seconds. Okay, I think TJ, I think you need to back up one. So I think you look at his left profile.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry.
Thanks, bud. Okay, so the little stone tiki idol thing you have here, I can't tell what that is. Actually, I don't know if it's stone. I don't know if it's silver or metallic. And I think it's just a limitation as to what you're working with in terms of the technique or method of painting that you were using. But I'm not sure if it's supposed to be silver. That's for sure if it's supposed to be stone. Probably just work on defining what that piece, something like that's going to be a little bit better. Okay. You've got a great sense of volumetric highlighting, though. Love your volumetrics. The golden dial on the back of the palanquin, out of all the non-metallic metals that you did, that part is my absolute favorite. And I'll go into detail why, but I think you got a lot more correct there than maybe. I'm not sure if this is a part that you felt needed a little bit of work, but you got actually quite a lot going on there in terms of what I feel is excellent or correct for your non-metallic metals. Let's see. You've got some skulls hidden in the stone pillars. I would probably just work on getting those brightened up a bit more, just so they stand out. You're not losing them in the detail. Okay. I'm looking for a particular picture here. All right, TJ, I'm going to give you a count as to where I want you to be. So starting from the front, we want second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, the seventh picture in. It'll be a close-up of his face and the Pokeball. That's it.
I was
Awesome.
gonna say I think I was already just on it.
Great. Okay. I have chosen this area to focus on for your non-metallic metals because there is a part in here that a lot of people tend to struggle with in terms of understanding how to highlight non-metallic metals. And I'm not going to lie, it's something that I still struggle with. It's seeing the shape for what it really is. So with an art background, there's typically, in art, there's considered to be 4 geometric shapes, and one's a variation or permutation on the other. But the 4 basic geometric shapes are going to be cylinder, cube, sphere, and cone. And all a cone is just a flanged out cylinder as far as highlighting purposes are concerned. Are you familiar with how light interacts with those particular shapes? Waiting for a response. And again, it's not your fault. There's like a 10-second delay. Okay, so you're familiar with the sphere. Okay. Let me see if I can find an image here real quick. One I tend to use, I should have it saved on my computer at this point in time, but I don't. Maybe I do have it saved. I have a folder I keep filled with just various references. Okay. Well, I don't have it, but we'll move on here. So the way that light tends to interact with the different shapes, spheres tend to have a spherical specular highlight. Um, Occlusion shadows, yes. Bounce highlights, I'm not super worried about going into bounce highlights. I'm not even great with bounce highlights. I'll be honest with you, it's one of the things that terrifies me because I'm still learning how to get better at my non-metallic metals. So I haven't done a lot with bounce highlights. But with cylinders or rods, you have your highlight always runs parallel with the shape of a cylinder. Cubes are weird because cubes are super dependent on the angle of light, um, and because they have, well, that blocky shape, it always has a gradient. So if you have a cube with light coming in, say from a 45-degree angle in the upper left, it's a very simple gradient from bright corner down shaded down to a dark corner. And then typically you just want your panels to be almost opposing. Like if you have a bright side, you want a dark side, butting up against that. The way that light interacts with a metallic shape or a metallic finish is you only see the highlights where the shape of where the angle of the shape is directly reflecting light into your eyes. So that's why when you look at a cylinder, you see the highlight just running parallel with the cylinder because you're looking at the cylinder straight on, and that shape only allows for light to reflect into your eyes one particular angle. Same thing with the sphere. The shape of the sphere forces light to reflect into your eye in a particular shape or pattern. I really wish if I find the image later on, I'll email it over to you, Ryan, that I'm referring to. Sorry, excuse me. So looking at Lord Croak's helmet here, again, I just want to ask you, like, I'm looking at the tip of his snout, just up to where the fan of the headdress meets. What shape do you think that is?
Oh, you can ping him in the GEF Discord too, there, Frank.
Yes, yeah. Okay. A lot of people would call that a sphere. I'm going to blow your mind. It's not a sphere. It's a cylinder. Imagine taking a cylinder, okay? And you take that cylinder and you just cut a ring of that cylinder out. The dome, that front plate of his helmet, imagine that curve going all the way around, like a circle on the right side of his face. And you'll see what I'm talking about, why it's a cylinder shape.
Seeing it.
Okay? You seeing what I'm talking about, TJ?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a sphere. It's kind of like a conal cylinder. You can look at it kind of like a cone, but it's a cylinder. If you just complete that whole curve. We'll get to the snout in just a second. And I actually spent some time working on, I zoomed in on this particular image to try and work on how I would try. I didn't want, when I was talking to you about this piece, I didn't want to just kind of come at this like, oh, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. It's very tough to kind of conceptualize this stuff without having an example. So TJ, if you'd be so kind as to put up that picture on stream that I sent to you earlier.
Yep.
Now, this is not a fantastic image, and forgive me because I had to do it on my phone using like my Samsung Galaxy S Pen. But you should be able to point out the areas where I went through and changed the highlights. I try to highlight the same volumes that you did, and I really wanted to show that like this is a cylinder shape where you have that specular highlight that just runs right across the front, because with the angle that you'd be looking at Lord Croak with, you're going to get that band of light running right across the front of that curved plate. Yes, that band of light across. And one of the things that about what sells the way that your illustrative non-metallic metal style is what I would call an excellent general purpose non-metallic metal. It, for an army piece, it works beautifully. For a competition piece, someone who knows how non-metallic metals should look are going to look at that and go, the lighting is not correct. And that's one of the reasons why, is because your highlights, your speculars just seem randomly placed all over. They look good. I don't want to make that, but you're the way that you should be highlighting those shapes is a little off. And this is one of the toughest parts, is understanding what the actual shape that you're working with is. Also, just in terms of your general colors, the browns to yellows to desaturated yellows to white looks great. Incorporate more black. Black lining with gold is very important, because with metallics, again, because you only see the color of the metallic or the metal where light's reflecting, where you're going to get that pure pop of almost pure white. Everything else is going to have that yellow to warm, ruddy gold, or orangish yellow look to it. Where there's no light, you're going to see black, and that I do have an example of. I'm going to send this to TJ so that TJ can go ahead and throw it up on stream. So, all right, TJ, I just sent you an image. If you can throw it up on the stream when you get a chance. And again, I'm also coming from a perspective too of like, this is going to be a very highly reflective, highly polished metallic. If you don't want to have that effect, you certainly don't have to paint it to that level.
There you go.
So here with this particular cylinder that we're looking at, you have that almost pure black because there's just no light reflecting from that, because the light source is on the far left side in this image. You're going to get that, a couple different names for that shadow. The most common name I know it by is Terminator. That's where you're going to have two separate light sources kind of meeting, and where two separate light sources tend to meet, that's where you're going to have a shadow, and that's the termination line or Terminator shadow between two different sources. And this is a great image to refer off of too, because on the right side you have very hard edge, hard lines, so you can definitely do hard lines, which is with metallics. Where the left side is where you have more of that specular highlight and more, it's more of an occlusionary shadow because it softens and blends out of that pale yellow color. But in general, the first things that I would suggest in terms of working on improving your non-metallics is just understanding your shapes a little bit better. Sorry, just reading your chat here. Yes. If what makes a non-metallic gold, like what you're trying to do, actually like really sing and really come across as being brilliant, is your dark darks. Like, you need to have your darkest darks and you need to have your brightest brights. That is what's going to make it work. And don't be afraid to have like almost a stark white highlight compared to, right next to jet black. that is, really going to help you sell it. And that's the reason he picked up on it immediately. The banner or the sundial, whatever it is in the back, that works beautifully as non-metallic metal because you have got some really nice darks, you've got some really bright brights. Yes, you can definitely do true to. I've seen. I think this is the artist. If you want to look for something to reference by, um, the miniature artist, his channel is Cult of Paint. His name is Andy Wardle. He has done some fantastic work with true metallic metals. I think he took a commendation at least, and maybe even won a Golden Demon. Not this past one, but the year before, with a true metallic metal Saint Celestine that he did. So you can definitely do true metallics. You totally can. If you're really good at volumetric highlighting, you can even do it fancy. Where you have like a copper base that's being volumetrically highlighted up with golds into silvers. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff with it, but your volumetrics are on point. And if you apply a volumetric highlighting with different shades of metallics, I think you can really do a great job with some TMM work.
All right. I hate to cut you off here, Frank, but we are getting down to the end here. I think what we will do going forward is when we have something super in-depth like this, I think you should give your overview and what you're thinking. And then, we are going to eventually, I guess, set up our own Discord at some point, but we can talk to them outside of the stream as well.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, not to like yell at you here. I just noted at the time. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, anything that you want to take a few minutes to go over?
You hit it pretty hard there, Frank. It looks, yes, but I definitely see those little bits that you're talking about.
Well, thank you very much for letting me ramble on for like 20, 30 minutes about that piece.
Not a problem.
Well, it gives us more news to talk about next week, I guess.
Yes, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap up with the game changes, and then we're gonna wrap it up here. So I just real quick want to go. We can always show the new stuff later on, but what I do want to go over here is that we have received a balance update already for 10th edition. I am obnoxiously impressed with that, considering. So, yeah. Excuse me. All I want to do is go through real quick what we got here. So it looks like Eldar got swatted as they rightfully should have. They went from the straight up best army in the game. There is no argument there to top 3. Oh God, what a drop. And if anybody says any different, you're probably still wrong. Eldar is now once per phase, essentially. They get their fate dice. They can only do the thing once per phase. They're still incredibly powerful. They also got some points nerfs in there as well. Guess what? They're still incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And the errata, and there was very minor stuff with the errata. It was pretty much just fixing the strands of fate on the Eldar. That's actually the only thing. And then the Munitorum field manual actually already dropped. And it was pretty much going around and hitting anything with either towering or non-line of sight shooting. Non-line of sight shooting. So things like the best model in the Sisters Army, the Exorcist, got hit. Nothing in Custodes, nothing like any indirect fire got hit, and anything towering. So the Wraith Knight jumped up. The support weapons jumped.
Wraith Knight jumped up hard. I'm actually kind of I'm gonna go on the record and say I'm a little bit pissed about it, and not for the reasons that you would think.
The Wraith Knight went up, and they went from I'm going to mandatorily take 3 of these in every list to I'm going to take 1 because it's still solid.
Uh, to just to rant for like a microsecond here, I had a Wraith Knight in my casual Eldar list I was going to be using for Crusade, but except I wasn't running the shooty version, I was running a melee version. I really wish they would go back to having points for war gear.
Yeah, I think they need that little bit of granularity with some of this stuff.
At 475 points, a Wraith Knight with 2 heavy Wraith Cannons is not the same as a Wraith Knight with the sword.
Literally just put another, like, bullet point here in the costs for stuff like that. That's all you need to do. It's not that much complexity. I realize they wanted to simplify, but it's still not that much. But whatever. Especially for the I will say that, watching a couple of streams earlier, the support weapon batteries that the Eldar have, the D cannon deserves to be 105 points, but not the other ones.
What I think they should probably consider doing, I know this is contrary to what the whole goal was, which was to keep data sheets down to a certain number, a certain minimum, but like maybe there really needs to be separate data sheets, like Wraith Knight with a Ghost Glaive or Wraith Knight with heavy Wraith Cannons.
I don't like the ability to take 6.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
That's why I'm saying just make it the same thing, and then you just put an extra bullet point for the point values. I don't see a big deal on that.
Yes, I think that's they could do that, but they also did. Remember back when there used to be that workaround for Demon Princes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Demon Prince of Zinj, Demon Prince of Nurgle. They were all technically separate data sheets, but like, so people running like 9 Demon Princes. They just said,
you can only have this many of this keyword.
Yeah, so I think they can make that work in simple enough language, but yeah, I'm.
Otherwise,
yeah, there's a lot I do like about 10th edition in general. I feel like this is probably the most botched release that they've had though, ever, in my opinion. I'm just one guy with a very small stream and an opinion on the internet, I know, but I think this is a very botched release as far as an edition goes.
The response time has been impeccable.
Yes, yeah, they are much more reactive now, so I will give them that. But yeah, I find this building frustrating. It's easy, very easy, but it's also very frustrating.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just we're just so used to granularity as opposed to Sigmar players who've always had it sort of like this. So.
But I think the biggest issue though is like with Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is just a melee game.
Yeah, I know. I have to imagine they have wargear options that are like this too, though. Unless you're in Stormcast, because then if there's a slight variation in a model, there's a whole new data sheet for it.
Oh, you mean like Space Marines?
Yes.
I think there's a parallel there.
Sort of.
But yeah, I've said my piece. Like a Wraith Knight with the Ghost Glaive is not the same as a Wraith Knight with 2 heavy Wraith Cannons, and they should not be 475 points if that's the case.
Listen, I could go on endlessly about. Oh, Mr. Ingram is in there.
Yes, I just saw that too. You blended black and red right on the cloak itself and quickly tried to brush up a gradient. Okay. All right. So you were using paint straight out of the pot, it sounds like, at that point in time, and just kind of like two brushing it, or just using thick paint to try and blend on the model with. I know we're probably gonna go like a moment over.
That's fine. A couple minutes isn't gonna do nothing. Custodians are not back on the top. They were already top 3. No, from everything I've seen, Gene Stealer Colt's probably the top.
Used a wet palette. Okay, so you were just probably thinning down your paints and almost two brushing it. First tip is you don't need to use a wet palette if you're going to be using straight out of the pot. Like, you shouldn't be thinning down your paints at all. If you're going to be doing wet blending, you want them as thick as possible. And if you are new to wet blending, you've probably heard this before, would recommend popping up to Michael's or wherever your local hobby shop is, AC Moore, Michael's. Hobby Lobby if you're desperate and you have no other choice and you feel like selling your soul.
Quite literally.
Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but um, acrylic retarder is a great learning tool for working on your wet blending. But still, dude, I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you here in the chat. Excellent, Captain. Keep up the good work.
Um, but anyway, yeah, no, I agree with the points things. I mean, it's a minor thing in orcs, but like also I think a battle wagon which doesn't have every weapon imaginable doesn't have to be 185 points. I don't want to use any of the weapons on the battle wagon. I just want it to transport guys. All the weapons suck. Ugh.
I I think also too, if they keep with this points method, I think these large point shifts are something we're going to have to get used to, because with this method they have, they can't do light taps.
No.
As I was talking before in our Discord, like, how many lists have you built that have come up like, oh, I've got 30 points here.
Yep.
What am I doing with this?
My
So bumping them.
my cheapest unit is like 45 points, and that's Gratz.
Yeah. Like bumping a model up by like 5, 10, even 20 points in some cases isn't going to change a lot of lists. Like they have to go for like 50 point swings almost every time they want to try and adjust something.
Yeah. Hopefully, like the enhancements when the codexes start rolling out, there'll be there will be more, and by more I mean varying points values to make it a little easier. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Also,
somebody even talked about having maybe codex. Somebody mentioned that maybe even codices would bring back in granularity, but I don't think they want that.
I don't think they want that. I think they want it in this Age of Sigmar style. No, this isn't a rip on Age of Sigmar. It's a different game. It's a different setup. The points values are in that style, no, the points values are very much in that style right now, Ryan. So I don't think they're gonna get, at least not anywhere near the granularity that we had it before. It's not. So, it's fine.
Yeah.
But,
what we're playing with power level with a fancy name.
Yeah.
But we're being restricted to the way that we can reinforce models like it's AOS. So I guess we do get one luxury. I don't know if it's the same for Stormcast, but like Space Marines typically come in boxes of 10. We're not forced to go at minimum 10. We're minimum 5 for Chaos Space Marines and Thousand Suns, etc., etc. So we do have that flexibility.
Unless you're tactical Marines, you can only get them in 10s.
Hey, at least Death Guard can now be fielded in squads of 7.
Hooray.
So there's that.
That solved all their issues.
Listen, at the end of the day, Desolation Marines went up from 24 points per model to 34 points a model, so now it's 340 points for 10 of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Thank you. I can't. I'm so happy with that. Like, now if you want to bring 30 of them, it's going to cost you over 1,000 points.
I think 30 points would have been a better value, but sure.
Nope.
Really?
340. Yep. No, I think they should be 40 points a model. Just checking to see if Kloss is still in the chat. Maybe he left, but no, I'm also saying that. But yeah, like those guys were nuts.
No, absolutely. I mean, they're still gonna take them with bolter drill. You still take a unit. If you don't take a unit, it's like okay.
I fully expect every Space Marine army to still have 10 Desolation Marines in it.
Oh, absolutely,
no problem.
Absolutely.
I don't think you're gonna see the 30 spam.
Oh hell no. You're still gonna see them. You're still gonna see whirlwinds. Whirlwinds went up like 25 points. Like, okay, whatever. You probably had 25 points floating around anyway, so, exactly. Darn.
Yeah.
But Knights, anything with Towering got kicked hard. Oh, yeah. Like, all the Knights went up like 60 points. I mean, Towering's a terrible rule, but, like...
Here's my hot take on Towering. I think there's one way that they could fix it, and you can agree with me, disagree with me, but here's my take on Towering. I think Towering should be like the 9th edition version of Towering, but for infantry only. Like, infantry can see them, but they can't see infantry. Like, obscuring still works for the infantry.
Right.
But the way Towering works now, if you said, okay, if it's a vehicle or a monster, or if it's a model with a wound count greater than 10, kind of like almost like a variation on Lookout Sir, because we made Lookout Sir work for how many years? 7 years, 6 years in its current, in the way that it runs. I think they can make towering work more like how Lookout Sir work, and be like, if it's a certain model, if it's certain model type over this many wounds, they can see it.
Yeah.
That's it, pure and simple.
I don't know. We'll have to see. Or you could just get rid of towering. If you can see it, you can shoot it. Just do that. You could just get rid of the rule, and it's fine. Because then you also don't the Primarchs not have towering? The demons, like
Demon Primarchs do not have towering.
Like, and they're like the same height as knights. Some of them, like Mortarion
so.
and Magnus, are the same height as a knight.
Maybe with the wings included, and that's the problem. Like, you can, officially you can, on paper you can hide these guys behind runes, but it's still really, really hard.
Yeah, I think it's legitimately the they are the height of the knights, and not like the Castellans or the Cerastus knights, but like, yeah, like, but they don't have it. Just take it away. Just get rid of towering. It's fine.
Right.
But yeah. One last thing I want to end on here is that Grey Knights got kicked for their purgation squads, which I find kind of funny considering I have 20 on my desk right now.
Hope his money's gone through, right, TJ?
Yeah, the first half.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, you do half at the beginning, half at the end, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so. Oh, and one other thing I have to say is that with the, I don't know why the Morkanaut went up a points. With the mech guns, a bubble chukka is not the same as a custom mega cannon. Like. Anyway, to wrap up, this was a great stream. I had a lot of fun. I really like our new little segment in there. I think we're gonna refine it as we go. I think we're gonna strip it down. We're gonna maybe do down to like 1 or 2 during the stream. Maybe we could even start making supplemental videos to look at others that were given to us if we start getting a large influx. This has not been discussed with Frank, so if it doesn't happen, nobody get mad at me.
I think that's a great idea in general. Maybe we can even, if we got a little clever with this, if we were smart boys and knew how to YouTube correctly.
You're asking a lot.
You could, since you've got OBS, you could always go back and create a separate video. It's titled like, TJ and Frank, or TJ and Frank review viewer models, and we just clip and edit the reviews together.
Ooh, we could. I'm not good at video editing, but I could definitely take a whack at it.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, guys, especially for letting me drone on.
I will have to, Ryan.
Special thanks to Brad, Andrew, and Ryan again for submitting models for us to review tonight. It was a lot of fun. It was great interacting with you. Don't be a stranger. Please join us again next week. Same time, Wednesdays from 7 to 9. 9:15 if I'm feeling particularly froggy and TJ isn't quite so annoyed with me yet.
I was just painting. You were fine.
But it was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you very much.
Yes. We will see you next week. Hopefully with even more models to take a look at. And we will go over the preview from last weekend. It's all right. Yeah, we got some epically small models. We got some Age of Sigmar, and we have a single Old World model. So, yeah. I am on the AOS Discord side of GEF. All right, I'm in there. Anyway, go ahead.
Nope, I was just gonna say thanks again, guys. Just thank you very much from the bottom of my heart to letting us listen to us and let us ramble.
Yes. All right. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.